These two Titans is going to move on. It's going to be pretty sick.
That is right, Tasteless. I'm so excited about this. Do any of you guys out there ever visit that site? What's that site that these guys they're on their team?
Must be teamliquid.net.
Any of you guys visit that site? I thought so. Yeah, I go there sometimes.
Two teammates duking it out here. Liquid Tyler, formerly known as Noni, here in the bottom right. In the bottom left, we have Liquid Ret.
I'm actually just so excited, man. I'm like sitting here wiggling in my seat. I kid you not.
We've been quite fortunate here.
Is it the caffeine and lack of sleep, or is it the two players? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't care. I'm feeling good.
Now, ooh, this is interesting, and this is very, very Tyler-esque. This is a map where almost every Protoss will go for a Forge expansion, but Tyler feels that a 3 gateway expansion or a 1 base into expansion is just much more versatile. And well, he is right. You know, he can fake this out, do some cheeses. He can go DT. He can go Void Ray. He can do whatever he wants off of this. But of course, his expansion will be a bit slower than a Forge expand.
Another thing to note is that Ret probably, since the general metagame on this map is Forge expand in this location, he's going to have a little bit less experience with this style on this map.
Yes, very true. He's going to be used to scouting and seeing a little wall in, a Forge, a gateway, maybe a cyber core, cannon behind, and knowing how to play against that on this map. Very rare to see a Protoss actually go for 1 base openings here.
The locations are quite interesting as well, because had we seen him start in this location over here, the Overlord scout would be a little bit more difficult. But in this case, Ret's Overlord can scout the base fairly easily.
Indeed, and the Overlord coming right in. He's going to see that, in fact, there is only 1 gas so far for Tyler. That's quite normal, though. He will not get a second gas until that Cybernetics core starts, at least. Gasless pool expand for Ret. There are some reasonably good counters against that. You know, if you don't get that quick Zergling speed, sometimes 4-gate can be very, very powerful against the Zerg expansion. Sometimes you can go for like a 2-gateway Stalker build. Sometimes you can just expand off of a few gateway units, because without speed, Zerglings, not so good, Tasteless.
No, not so good at all. And as you can see, the second gas is now being taken here from Liquid Tyler. And of course the question is, will Liquid Tyler reveal his tech tree while the Overlord's still in there? Will he fake a tech tree? These are two guys that train together a lot. Yeah, so that makes stuff a little bit more difficult.
It's not just that, but they're on the same team. They share their replays with each other. They're going to know each other's styles quite a bit, probably discuss gameplay quite often. So they're going to kind of know each other well, and they're going to have to, make some different moves. They're going to have to trick each other out. Like right now, Tyler might be thinking, okay, this is what Ret thinks because he knows my play a little bit. Now I have to switch it in this way to counter what he would counter with.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of mind games going on over here. We might not even be able to see or follow. A lot of this is going to be really between these two guys trying to outthink each other.
Well, it does look on the production tab, Tasteless, like it's going to be a 3-gateway expansion.
We do have 1 drone mining Vespian gas instead of 3, which indicates he wants to get a lot more minerals right now than anything else. Back here in the Protoss' base, 2 more gateways. Could be a very standard 3-warp gate expand. And so far that does indeed look like that will be the case.
Indeed it will. It's a very safe build. He should be totally fine. Speed being upgraded for Ret, making a bunch of drones as well. And you know that that 1 drone in the geyser that you were talking about, Tasteless, that is actually something a little bit rare amongst Zergs. It shows how close Hydra and Ret are, because they are 2 of the only Zergs that actually do that.
Looks like he wanted to barely squeeze out a Roach Warren while still getting the optimal amount of minerals. As you can see here, he now has all his drones back into gas, so he wants to kind of slip out of Roach Warren while still having a very healthy mineral-based economy, since roaches are kind of mineral-intensive.
Now, there is a very popular build that Hydra's used a lot, Luceria's used a lot, and ST has used a lot, which is Roach Zergling high economy pressure against a Protoss 3 gateway fast expansion. Now the thing is, on Shakura's plateau, it's not going to be as good, so I'm hoping that Ret doesn't quite do that, because Tyler can hold that ramp with just a couple force fields. It's much better on a wide open choke.
Yeah, on a map like Xel'Naga Caverns, for instance, there's really not a lot you can do to stop that.
And that Overlord is going to go down.
But he did get some more information. He knows, well, at least from what he's seen, there's no Stargate, no Robo. It's a standard 3 warp gate expand, which means the Protoss spent a lot of gas on sentries, as you guys can see here. And he will actually get 2 Overlords, and this will just barely supply block Ret. Yeah. Although another Overlord could pop out here.
He is making a couple more at the moment. Tyler making sure that he has enough units to hold any such attack like we were talking about, and cancels the hatchery.
We barely caught that.
That is very interesting. You're a good observer, Tasis, to catch that.
Thank you.
I was going to be wondering why he isn't transferring drones in a minute here, but canceling that off, he does start a layer, and it looks like he wants to get aggressive. You might think, in fact, he does think, well, there's going to be a push. He's killed a couple Overlords. He's making a lot of units off 3 gates. And so it looks like Tyler is going to go for it. But the Speedlings are going to be a problem, Tasteless. They are going to be running by, or at least trying to. Tyler having to use some force fields there to block them. And
nice trapping here.
Traps most of them, only 4 of them getting by.
They may run into the main to see if they can gather any more intel. Are there more gateways? Is he teching? And as you can see here, he will see it is still just 3 gates.
And Ret going ahead and harassing that. But Tyler is on his way to Ret space. Ret has a bunch of roaches at the top of the ramp, making some spine crawlers. This isn't, well, we'll see how he does with the force fields. It's going to come down 2 force fields, targeting down that spine crawler as quickly as possible. Second one comes up, targeting that as well. Ret, with his roaches, has to decide very carefully how to do this because there's a lot of force fields. And the force field's going off, only letting a few roaches in, but those roaches doing a lot of damage. Zergling's coming as well, and he does choose to force field off the ramp and back up, losing a sentry there. And it does not look like this is going to be a killing blow at all. Ret surviving quite simply there.
And a lot of this has to do with him canceling this hatchery here. Had he been making a hatchery and trying to support that with drones, this little rush from these units that we have a shot of now would have ran Ret over.
Yeah, he might have been able to go over, kill that hatchery, and that, of course, is much worse than canceling. And now we do see some Zerglings going over and trying to hit those sentries, but Tyler is on top of it. He is on the ball, stopping any of this harassment.
And once again, he resumes producing that hatchery. Now that he's safe on the map, continuing to crank out drones, as we can see here, 6 drones on the way.
We do have that +1 range attack, a ton of drones coming, as you said, Tasteless, the roach speed as well. And Ret is just going to go into economy mode. That is what Ret is good at. That is his absolute strength. If he gets a sick economy going and Tyler does not hit him with a very powerful timing attack to punish him for that, Tyler's going to be in for a very, very hard game. There's few players that can macro at the level Ret can.
He may, and it looks like he has, cut probes, stockpile or pool the chrono boost, and basically do one more big push here. We don't see him making any further tech. No Twilight Council. We don't see him making the robotic support bay for Colossus. It looks like he wants one more chance to try to bludgeon his opponent with this immense amount of units.
Well, Tyler going through, Burrow on the way. He does have an observer, though, so Burrow not going to be the most useful thing. It normally works out much better if they don't have an observer. Everyone nowadays getting that observer, though, not wanting for roaches to just totally own them. A lot of lings on the way for Ret. He has a decent number of roaches, but here this group of units comes. Accidentally losing a stalker there is Tyler.
Tyler's force right now considerably scarier than Ret's, although Ret can recover from that. We do have a few lings in here that is going to buy a little bit of time. This is going to cause a hiccup in the income for Liquid Tyler here. He does have to use his probes to destroy it. Then, of course, that means less mining time here, and Overlord grazes over to see the gateways. Meanwhile, back here, the attack is about to commence. Ret may want to stay on the creep here. He's a little bit safer on there, even if the creep teamers are killed.
A lot of force fields being used, but still a ton of force fields are, in fact, left Tasteless.
And he wants to actually isolate this location and probably take out this expansion hatchery over here.
Yeah, that is a very good choice. Tyler showing us some ridiculously solid play, and he is going to just go up that ramp and kill this off. But if Ret plays his cards right, maybe he can actually go ahead and do a counterattack or kill those units when they come out. So that hatchery does go down. In the meantime, Ret is, well, it looks like, is he going to counterattack? Sending a few units
over here, takes out the sentry. What he wants to do is have the Protoss forces turn around. I don't know if this is actually going to be a very good idea for Ret, though. I mean, he's making some probes, but He's not going to have a big army. He won't have an expansion. He warps in one Zealot here to block this off. The Roaches make quick work of that. 2 more Zealots get warped in over here. And a force field barely saves the day here.
Looks like he may lose some sentries, though, and comes up, kills off these Roaches. Those Roaches won't be doing very much damage now. And this is going to actually hurt Ret quite a bit, but Tyler doesn't have a lot of probes, Tasteless. He's at 41 probes against the 52 drones, but of course Zerg can re-drone much, much quicker than Protoss.
As you can see, the Stalkers, the Sentries, the 2 Observers moving out again. He wants to once again deny this hatchery as this is a back and forth game, and I love it. Counterattacking over here. The Sentries really get force fields up fast.
Oh man, they are in trouble. Tasteless getting surrounded. One of them's going to go down. The Zergling's going to go into the mineral line. Zealots being warped in to try to take them out, but still, this is some very clever play by Ret.
Meanwhile, he's going to push out here. Once again, this hatchery, he has to decide if he's going to cancel. He does. He moves out here, going up the ramp.
That ramp is scary, though. Look at all those Hydras, Tasteless. It's a good thing that Tyler has taken out just so many of the creep tumors. And oh, a big misclick there, taking a ton of damage on his Stalkers, trying to walk them up. And he will be able to take these units out very easily with some strong force fields. But still, Ret has a ton of units up there.
All right, as you can see, Hydras and Roaches doing a ton of damage here. It looks like Tyler might have overstayed his welcome.
Yeah,
here.
He has no sentries left, Tasteless. And if you have no sentries left against a Roach Hydra army, you are in trouble. But he's bringing up more sentries. He realizes he needs those in there, and Ret backs up.
Now, note Ret actually expanding up here. This is a pretty far distance if you look from where this expansion is on the mini-map here, guys. So he's really just doing anything he possibly can to just secure a third base. You never want to be on even bases as Zerg against Protoss or as Zerg against Terran.
Quite right, Tasteless, quite right. Tyler keeps on repositioning his units. Ret running into the main base with some Roaches. And Tyler messing up here. Half of his army down the ramp, taking a lot of hits from those Roaches and Hydras. And, Ret very smartly backs up, does not want to get force fielded off and lose half his army.
So for the time being, Ret has somewhat of a contain here. He needs to be careful, though. These Hydralisks, they're not slow when they're on creep. If they're on creep here, they're going to be able to run away and retreat. If he makes a mistake and it looks like Tyler has enough to come down the ramp, all the Hydras will die during the retreat.
That's quite right. You cannot run away with them. When you want to attack with Hydras, you have to attack all the way. There's no turning back. I love the concave you're showing right there, Tasteless, right around that ramp. If Tyler tries to come down, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. That's going to be very, very, very hard to break through.
And speaking of that, let's see if he can do it now. He peeks down there. He did cause this army to have to regroup. Nice force fields, but still, he's unable to actually gain any ground here. Look at the concave.
Oh, man.
That is practically a half circle around those Stalkers, and yet Liquid Tyler, oddly enough, is continuing to just move down the ramp. I guess confident these Stalkers can take it, but I don't know. There's just too many Hydralisks here.
This may be his last resort, Tasteless. He's stuck on those 2 bases. He has to get something done, but Ret is chasing right into the back. There's no sentries left to make these units stop, and he's going to lose those Stalkers. We may be seeing GG momentarily.
You know, all Liquid Tyler needed to do was secure a third base, which, as you can see over here, Ret did manage to do, as both players were kind of stuck on 2 bases for a very long period of time.
You see going up to the ramp now, there's, again, no sentries, so he's not going to be able to stop these units. The Zerg army is actually very, very good when there's no force fields around.
Yeah.
Dealing a ton of damage, just going to walk right in there. And even though Tyler may end up cleaning this up, he's just losing too much.
If you look at the probe count, 36 to 57, and most of these probes are actually about to die to Hydralisk Roach. And it's now down to 22, and that's going to be GG as Ret, you know, despite Tyler's success in denying the third base, he did not manage to get a good position.
You know, both players actually played quite well, Tasteless. I feel like the one big mistake was when Tyler tried to go up the ramp against some Hydra Roach. You have to be very careful. If you lose too many sentries, the game is very hard to recover at that point. If you remake the sentries, you can't really get upgrades, you can't really tech, and when Hydras come out, you either need a ton of sentries and a ton of units or, you know, tech.
Now, Ret probably feeling very confident after that game, despite, you know, Tyler being in his face, destroying, or at least forcing to cancel his hatchery multiple times. what Ret knew was that Tyler was going to basically overmake Stalkers.